Hello, everybody. Hello to my one friend that's here live, and then anybody who's watching the replay. So, yeah, this is going to be the first, at least the first of this King's Landing campaign, and I believe the first ever interactive live D&D campaign, which might be for a good reason that it's a terrible idea. So, we will see. But to start off, you are all on a ship heading back to the island King's Landing, which is a small shipping island. You've been a tourist there for a while, and now your ship has been sent back for some reason you don't know, and you're stuck there for the time being. What do you want to do? Now I gotta wait for the chat and see, but that's okay. So yeah, you're just on this little kind of sailboat. Okay, so we got one read poetry. And yes, there's not a cast. It's just the chat. So we'll see how poorly this goes. Okay, do you have any particular poetry that you want to read? Got my book. Just do not stand at my grave and weep. That's very dramatic poetry. So one of the people on the ship just kind of starts like reading over your shoulder, just like, oh, what you got there? I am not there. I do not sleep. Who is it? Just kind of like this pretty average looking like human guy is just kind of trying to read your book. Not quite like a sailor dude, like just kind of like someone who's probably was trying to travel to the same place that you were and like is annoyed to be sent back as well. Like some dude who is on vacation or something. Just like, what you reading? Okay, so you just make sustained eye contact and he just slowly like backs off, just like, okay, fine. Read your stupid book. I didn't want to read it anyway. There's a lot of kind of average looking like people around, like a lot of disgruntled travelers and just a couple like interesting characters, like people who are probably adventurers, but mostly just kind of like average people who were trying to go on vacation. Do you want to look for anyone in particular? No, there's a pretty decent mix of different races. They're not all human. Um, I'd say like pretty evenly mixed. Like there's not really any particular like there's a lot of elves and dwarfs particularly, but aside from that, pretty even. Can I just go? Like, do you just want to jump overboard? You can. You're quite a ways from shore. But sure, you can jump overboard. Were you not able to roll dice? Okay, now what do you want to do? Gonna jump. Okay, so you jump off the side of the ship and now you're just like in the ocean. What is your plan? It's just like water, like there's nothing interesting. Like there's like some fish that you can see, like kind of some random like trash floating around. Everyone on the ship is just looking at you like a crazy person. There's a couple fish. Kind of like just some miscellaneous stuff like some driftwood, like what looks like kind of a discarded fishing net. And then just kind of a bunch of like little discarded things that have found their way into the ocean. Like a lot of it is kind of like natural in origin. Okay, I'm gonna have you do like a dexterity saving throw for that, so that you don't get tangled up in it. Waiting for the chat latency. 16. Okay, so you successfully kind of like get the net gathered up in your arms without getting completely tangled in it. What do you want to do now? I will note the boat is like slowly moving away from you at this point. Okay, so now you're just kind of swimming back to the boat, and everyone's still like looking at you. Like you are quite the spectacle, just like a random person who jumped into the ocean and like gathered up a fishing net. So another dexterity check to see if you can get back on the boat. Haunted. Oh, yeah. I remember what that background is. So I still need that dexterity check. No, chat's not lagging. Okay. Okay, you easily get back onto the boat. Like, just, you basically jump. Like, it shouldn't be possible with the water, but, like, yeah. Yeah, there's the lag and chat latency and stuff. It's a little bit of a tricky thing. Okay, are you using a spell for that or just like manually mending it? Latency, latency. Well, you can do either or. I'm just curious what you're gonna do with a fishing net. Okay, so like you're working on like mending this fishing net and people are just staring at you and one guy's just like, "What are you doing?" And just still like just staring at you like quite like interested but also slightly scared. He's like, well, obviously I know what a fishing net is, but like, why do you need a fishing net? Like, you don't look like a fishing person." And like, they threw out the, and he like looks very perplexed. Fishing person. Yes, you don't look like a fishing person. We're keeping that. How judgment. No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't. No offense. I'm sure you'd be great at fishing. I just didn't. Never mind. He just like quickly like shuffles off. Good. Just... So yeah, at this point you can kind of see the port in the distance. So you're getting kind of close. You have a bit more time, but like people are kind of starting to like gather eagerly on like that side of the ship or the front end of the ship, I guess. Yeah, sure, you can wander around. Are you looking for anything in particular? Anyone in particular? Okay, so you're just hanging out at the back end of the ship then. I'll see something irritating. You do see something shiny on the ground. And just give me a moment. Ooh, shiny. I don't know what it is yet. um. Okay, it's just a scrap of cloth the from some banner. You're not sure quite where it's from, but it has a bit of kind of like a crest on it. And it's a very like shiny embroidery. Like you're not quite sure how they made it so shiny. Okay, so yeah, you just sketch it out. Kind of, it looks like an anchor in the middle, except it's kind of like cut off halfway on a poem you don't like. So yeah, it's just kind of like a cut off anchor, and that's basically what the crest looks like. And the poem is just a very poorly written poem. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you think it might be from like you're pretty sure it's local and you think it might be from Destaiga, but you're not sure. And you're not quite sure like what area in particular. Um wait. I wrote it in my notes and it's spelled um where is it? Dustinga. How do you spell? It. Okay, I don't know what kind of check that would be. I guess that would be I don't know, we'll just say investigation. I hope the challenge gets better with more people. I think it will. Of just like more people doing different things. Yeah, I have proficiency. Proficiency's nice. 9. Okay, so it's just kind of like a like silk, but you still can't tell what the shiny stuff is. Okay, same. You still can't tell, but like the main part of it is silk. Math is hard. Okay, so at this point the boat is like basically reached port, so everyone's kind of getting ready to leave. So it's expensive. Yeah, it's probably from a decently like well-off person. You can look around to see if anybody has half of a like the other half, but Here, roll investigation, actually. To see if, like, there's any random person that just has the other half of it. You don't see anybody. Everyone's kind of, like, trying to shuffle their way off the ship, and it might have been from someone on a previous voyage that's not even here. Okay, you just chuck it into the ocean. Got it. Okay, so you have a fishing net. If I don't know what the shiny is, I will assume potentially dangerous magic. Fair enough. Whenever something is suspiciously shiny, often danger magic. Okay, yeah, so everyone's kind of like getting off the ship and then dispersing into different parts of the town. Okay, so you're kind of staying at the port. There's a lot of people just grumbling about, like, why did the ships get I presume live here. What do you mean I presume live here? Correct. What do you mean by that? Um, yeah, there's just kind of a lot of people at the port just. Oh, yeah. You've traveled to this town. You don't live there, but you know it, like, decently well because you were a tourist there for, like, 2 weeks. I forgot my map. Hold on a second. Okay, I got it now. Sorry, we forgot to grab that before. So yeah, you're just waiting at the port. There's kind of a lot of people randomly talking about, like, why were the ships grounded. Um, okay, so there are a couple quests. There's not a whole lot of paranormal stuff. This is a pretty touristy town, so there aren't many quests. You do hear a little bit of, like, people randomly talking about, like, their trip and talking about a magical forest, but not much about haunting. But you could ask around more to see if somebody does have a job. Oof. I do hauntings, not forests. Well, it's a magic forest, so there could be some paranormal activity, but most of the people just randomly gossiping. the people around are basically the same people on the boat, uh, or people who were on the boat just moments ago. Except you do see Snowbrook there, who was your tour guide while you were on the island. So you do know her. She lives there. So you could ask her about haunted stuff. Yeah. So do you want to ask her about like haunted things? Snowbrook weird, no. Gonna go wander off. Okay, anywhere in particular you're wandering towards? Because there are a bunch of shops you could go to a town center. Um, yeah, there's a bookstore. If you ask nicely, you could probably borrow stuff. So you're going to Ember Scribe Bookstore. More books. Okay, so yeah, you can walk there. I need to find it again. So you walk into Ember Scribe Bookstore and you see this little, like, kind of a just little gnome just pop up and they're like, hi! And she's just kind of in the middle of, like, stocking some newer books. It's a pretty nice place. It's, like, a bit older, but it's pretty well organized. It's pretty clean. You can see newer books towards the front, and then you can see kind of older books more towards the back of the shop. She says, "Oh yeah, right here," and she leads you to kind of a section. It's just at the top of it. It's just labeled like poetry, uh, with and it's like a of like full shelf worth of poetry books. Okay, so you look through. There are a couple like authors that you know. Um, you see one like book that looks significantly older than the rest, and yet you thank her for leading you to the books, and she kind of goes back to what she was doing before. Uh, and yeah, like there's one old book that looks just kind of like strange, like you're not quite sure what the deal is with it, and then a couple authors you recognize. Okay, so you pull it out and it just says like magical poems on the front. It's quite like basic, almost as if they were trying to like hide it. Uh, and yeah, it's just if you like page through it, it just is like a very old book with kind of like weird, like I guess by modern standards, like Elizabethan poems. Okay, so the table of contents is just a bunch of titles, none of them you really recognize. You see one title that's like The Lonely Path, which might be about forests, and then you see a couple of like that seem slightly ghost like of like the Pale Mystery and then like just different titles that hint towards possibly being magical or spiritual. Okay, I did not come up with poems in advance. I didn't think this through. Um, yeah, The Lonely Path is just it's a poem kind of similar to like Tale of Two Wood or like Two Roads Diverge, the Robert Frost poem, where it's just kind of talking about a path that's winding through the woods and these strange events that happen as this traveler is following it, and then um, and yeah, you start with like a little bit of money, so you can afford to get some books. Like you start with like 10 gold, and then the Pale Mystery is about seeing like this the same traveler and as in the Lonely Path kind of sees this apparition off in the distance and it disappears before they can approach. Okay, so you go up to Fultra and you're like, how much is this book? And she says, "Oh, that one's an interesting one. I got that one years ago. That'll run you about 5 silver. I'd like to see it go to a good home." All right. So she like hands you the book and kind of this little like paper bag, um, and then you're off. Are there any other shops that you want to go to? And she says like, "I hope you come back." And kind of just a strange version of like see you soon. It's like afternoon, kind of like later afternoon. Okay, so there's um, a couple like the main place that you would stay and the place that you stayed when you were visiting is King's Quarters, which is just an inn kind of towards the center of town, or you could go into the magic woods and set up camp there, which is kind of in a residential ish area, but outside of that area. If that makes sense. That probably didn't make sense. Basically, there's like a neighborhood of houses of people who live there, and it's outside of that area. It's not a campground, it's just woods. There are a couple paths winding through it. Um, but yeah, there's like a bit of a clearing, so you could go there and set up camp. It's just, why is it called the magical forest? There's like a lot of legends bouncing around the town that like that's where all the magic comes from. Did my thing My thing is unhappy. But yeah, that's what it's called, the magical forest. Okay, so you ask around a couple people and you kind of hear the same story repeated, which is probably just a story that they heard from like some random person, where people said that when the king came to this island in order to found Destaiga, the first thing that happened was there was a massive windstorm everywhere except for exactly where he set up camp. And so that the place where he set up camp became the clearing that people commonly camp now. And it's said that it was magic protecting the king because the king was ordained by the gods. All right, gonna go camp there. Okay, so you set up camp. Is there anything in particular you want to do before nightfall? Can't be. Yeah, it's said to be like a good magic forest, like not a bad magic forest. Okay. So you set up a small fire and kind of like set up camp, and it's not busy there. Like you're kind of just on your own. And at this point, it's kind of starting to get close to like early evening. Get some sleep without nightmares. Yeah, it's a pretty nice magic forest. Okay, so do a nature check. Yeah. Yeah, nature check. 15. Okay, so you find like quite a bit of like greenery, and then you also find these like berries that you're not exactly sure about, but you know that they're non-toxic, and you remember they have some positive effect, but you can't remember what it is. Uh, tell me over. So yeah, you find kind of like a bunch of like greenery. I don't know. Okay, so you're gonna eat the suspicious berries? Wild veggies. They are wild veggies. Yeah, so berries give you, okay, so eating one berry, you get one temporary hit point until not your next long rest, but the long rest after that one. But no, you do not get high off the berries. I need to. Neat. Okay, I know there were two things that I dropped. I will have to find that later. Gonna make a salad. Okay, so you just make a salad with all of your foraged wild vegetables. Oh, my, somewhat disappointed. If you want to look for mind-altering substances, you got about like 20 berries. If you want to look for mind-altering substances, then you can roll a separate nature check for that. But yeah, you have about like 20 of the health berries. Rolled 12. You unfortunately do not find any drugs. So sorry to disappoint. How can it be magic then? Well, not all magic is going to be Yeah, at this point it's like late evening, so I'll let you do one more check if you want to see if you could find any. But then after that it's going to be dark, so you'll have to roll with disadvantage. But you can do that all night if you want. Nah, smart plan. Okay, so you go to sleep, and it is there that we're going to end the live stream for today. So when we come back next Thursday, then it will be daybreak. Or if there are any events in the night. Ooh, spooky. Bye.